Yes, yes, yes. Okay, we are recording. All right. Unless anyone else joins soon. We had an extra Matt in here somewhere, but then I think it was Matt Condon, but then he went
I
away.
think I'm in twice though, but I'm gonna not be in twice.
Ah, okay, yeah, that is you. Okay. Cool. So why don't we just get started then, and then we'll see. If anyone else, any stragglers come in, we can go from there, or they can start in the middle. Um, so hi everybody, welcome to non-technical talks. I think this is the third one. I don't know. I actually don't normally organize these or anything. There wasn't one scheduled, so I was like, all right, I guess I'm gonna organize it. So we have one, two, three, four, five, six speakers in theory, five speakers in practice. That are going to tell us cool things that are not related to tech, or sometimes, or kind of are. I think Joseph's is on the line, but we'll allow it. And the talk should be between 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not going to be strict. Just do a reasonable amount of time, and then if it's ends up being forever, then I'll be like, all right, let's move on to the next one. But other than that, we're playing a game where the rules are made up and the points don't matter. So let's get into it. Joseph, why don't you go first, and then we'll follow that up with Ray.
Sounds good. Here we go. So this talk is actually only tangentially about airline food, because I thought I wanted to talk about this, but it turns out that it's been done to death. So what's the deal with airplane food and Wi-Fi? And is there a deal with airplane food and Wi-Fi? Let's find out. So Wi-Fi is everyone's favorite form of radiation. It's probably transferring this presentation to you right now. It's very hard to find stock photos of. It runs on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency, and somehow it works all over the world. And this is the weird thing to me. I don't want people to take this for granted, because that's not usually a thing. America uses their own thing for TV tuners, and then the rest of the world does something else. There's a real outlier on that map on the right? Phones, until a few years ago, you couldn't even use the same phone on AT&T and Verizon, never mind all over the world. So let's not take it for granted that you can get on a Wi-Fi hotspot in Japan and it just works. And when I talk about radios, I don't mean this kind. I mean this kind. Basically anything that lets you snoop on what someone else is doing with electrons at a distance. So if a guy has an electron and he's just holding it still, the radio doesn't know anything about that. That's an electric field line. My day job is astrophysics, so my version of not technical tech talk is unfortunately still this, and I apologize. But if this guy moves the electron up and then down again, there's a propagation effect. You can see that at some time ago, he moved the electron, and then if he moves it up and down a whole lot at a given frequency, you can use that to send signals, information back and forth between two locations. So Wi-Fi runs on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency. That means 2.4 billion times a second, someone is wiggling an electron, and you can use that to download cat videos. But why is it the same all over the world? So that's what I set out to find out. And the answer, at least the unsatisfying answer, is that 2.4 gigahertz is reserved worldwide for industrial, scientific, and medical use. Because back in, this picture on the right is from the 1920s, I think, possibly earlier. This is a medical diathermy machine. Someone figured out that you could use radio waves generated the really crude way they used to generate radio waves to heat stuff. So they started using it to treat back pain and stuff like that. And also harden industrial glues if you're into that sort of thing. And since this is the same frequency, since this, is such a big producer of radio waves, that bit of spectrum isn't usable for anything else. If you're trying to use a walkie-talkie or something, you will hear when your neighbor turns on their medical diathermy machine. So they reserved this. They said, okay, if you have super noisy stuff, put it on 2.4 gigahertz plus or minus a bit, and that's, junk spectrum. That's a loss. And it turns out that you can actually heat with any frequency of radio waves. And this is super cool to me. If you have a molecule, like a water molecule, and you wiggle the electric field around, it always wants to orient itself to align with the electric field. And if you keep changing the electric field, obviously it has to stay in motion, and that motion creates heat, and that is the whole basis for how all of these things work. So it turns out you don't need a particular frequency to do that, never mind 2.4 gigahertz specifically. So that's what I was trying to find out, is how did they choose this number? And that's where the airplane food comes in. So it turns out, after a fair bit of digging, that it all started in 1947 at the first meeting post-World War II of the International Telecommunications Union. They're actually still around, and they have some nice librarians, and you can just email libraries at itu.int, and they'll go rooting around in the archives for you. As you can see, Atlantic City in 1947 was a place where people still rode horses on beaches for some reason. I don't think you can do that anymore. But there was a great spirit of international collaboration in 1947 in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where people from like 50 countries all got together to hash out the rules to make sure that, Argentina's walkie-talkies are not using England's diathermy frequencies. So after a fair bit of digging, I found the origin, or at least as far as I'm willing to go to find the origin of this exact number. So it turns out that in this conference, the representative of the United States said that they should probably set aside this bit of spectrum because there is an electronic cooker, and the latter might eventually be installed in transatlantic ships and airplanes. This was before jet travel, so transatlantic ships were the budget option. And there were no computers, definitely no Wi-Fi, but because this got set aside, Wi-Fi can operate on here and in that part of the spectrum and be sure that it's not going to conflict with anything else. And that's why it works the same all over the world. And why did they have this in 1947? Well, it turns out that the guys who made radar systems for World War II, Raytheon Missile Systems, currently headquartered in Tucson, Arizona, where I live, oddly enough, they had invented something called the radar range, which uses the same signals they were using to detect aircraft to cook food. Apparently, in the 1940s, it was common to cook your steak in the microwave. So while I was putting this together for you, I encountered several disappointing facts. One is that Jerry Seinfeld never actually used "what's the deal with airplane food" as part of his own stand-up. The second is that if you go looking up how microwaves work, you'll find some explanations saying that there's some special property of water that, microwaves are just tuned to specifically excite water molecules, and that's not true. Also, they never even used a microwave on an airplane. It turns out they're too heavy. The one that I showed a few slides back was 57,000 of today's dollars new, and about the size of a fridge, as you saw, and they weren't going to put it on an airplane. There just wasn't room for it. So Because someone had an idea that didn't pan out in 1947, you can use Wi-Fi in Tokyo. The end.
Wait, so are microwaves still to this day not on planes? Like if I get hot food on a plane, that's not with a microwave?
No, they use convection heating. And I think that's true in general. There's an aviation stack exchange thread about it. You know for sure if you get a tray that has metal foil covering it that it wasn't heated with a microwave, because metal foil blocks microwave.
Cool. Anyone else have any questions?
Ask
I
me how
want.
squirrels come into it.
So is Wi-Fi good or bad for people? Is it harmful?
Um, so your microwave oven, if you manage to climb inside, that will dump 1,000 watts of heat into your flesh by radio heating, by making all of your molecules that have a dipole moment heat up, right? That is 10,000 times greater than, well, no, it is 5,000 times greater than the maximum allowed power output for your Wi-Fi radio. Emily loves a dipole moment, but who doesn't?
Cool.
I have a question. Did you learn anything about whether you can turn on your Wi-Fi in planes?
You can, I think. Well, actually, that's definitely true now because there's Wi-Fi on planes, right? You can pay $10 and look at memes for 2 hours. But yeah, there shouldn't be anything on there. So back in the 1940s, the only other contender for this bit of spectrum was the Soviet air defense system. And for whatever reason, that was considered a less compelling argument for the spectrum allocation than the one the Americans brought of, I don't know, maybe you can cook stuff.
Cool. Unless anyone else has something, we'll move on to our next speaker. Thank you.
Can I do one more? Sorry.
Yeah.
The last question or the last answer made me. So at this 1948 or whatever convention, did they decide the entire band allocation?
They keep refiddling with it every few years. So like the how do I jump to a slide? I'm not very good at PowerPoint. By title. Yeah, so this thing on the right, everyone decided on new ways to use television signaling. And if you remember in the late 2000s, early 2010s, there was the digital switchover. That was decided as recently as like 2008 or something. That, okay, we had all of this set aside for television the way that old TVs worked, and now we have much more efficient ways to transfer images and audio. So they switched how it was all working, and the whole world cut over to a new system at once. Unfortunately, because the US has to be different, we had to develop our own system, which probably measures in imperial units and is generally incompatible. But yeah, so they started, I think 1947 wasn't even the first convention, but I think it was the first one that really attempted to get all the possible stakeholders there. It was like 50 countries and just tons and tons of really dense, unreadable documents were produced. And those have been successively amended by later international radio conferences.
And then who enforces it? Like, I see stories of like ham radio operators getting in trouble because they don't do the right thing, but Wi-Fi, you can put up whatever you want.
Yeah, so at this point, rules lawyers and literal lawyers could probably correct me, but if you've turned over some consumer electronics gadget and it says, this device complies with Part 15 of the FCC rules, this device may not produce harmful interference, but must accept any harmful interference that it receives. These Part 15 devices work on junk spectrum. So 2.4 gigahertz has noise from when you open your microwave too fast, and from everyone's little quarter-watt cordless telephone. Well, so in the old days, people had cordless telephones that connected to a landline. But anyway, but all of this crap lives on spectrum that they thought was not useful for anything else. But if you're, say, transmitting at 10 watts, which would be 40 times more than you're supposed to for a Wi-Fi transmitter, then someone could complain to the FCC and they would investigate and fine you potentially a lot of money.
So it's not about the band so much as how far it goes. Clearly, I don't know how radio waves work.
It depends on the use. Yeah. With stuff like Wi-Fi, and incidentally, Bluetooth also uses 2.4 gigahertz, and baby monitors and other stuff. It's all about the power. You need, for unlicensed use, or it's not unlicensed exactly, but to not have to go to the FCC with money and an application to use a device, that has to limit its power to either a quarter or half a watt.
Yeah, so I don't want to interrupt, but let's keep going so we have time for everybody. So let's thank you, Joseph, for all of the detailed explanations and everything, and amazing presentation. Let's move on to Ray.
All right, so let's see. Share my screen, and 1 second. Share. All right, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So my presentation, which I'm going to try to do in 5 minutes as quickly as possible, is what is social entrepreneurship. But we're actually talking about social enterprises for reasons I'll say later, but we're also trying to reclaim the phrase social entrepreneurship. So the history, something happened in the 1970s in the UK, according to Wikipedia, but it doesn't have a source. But the best source we have is that in the 1990s, this became law in the UK. So it was probably talked about before then, sometime in the 70s. So where does it come from? Well, we have cooperatives, which you may know is a group of people like helping each other. And at this time in the 70s and 80s, in Italy, it was actually illegal for anyone in a cooperative to use cooperative's resources to help anyone outside of a cooperative. So all these people were just like only able to help people who were also able to contribute to the cooperative, which not everyone liked. So they came up with this great idea called social cooperatives, where they're like, wow, what if we use our group's resources to help people who can't be part of our group? And so then that became the law in Italy. And the Boy Scouts are not social cooperatives. It's just an example of a group helping other people. And so then somewhere along the line, and it's not really clear, this idea of social enterprise came out, where they're basically like, okay, it's really hard to get everyone to cooperate. What if we just have a leader that runs an organization that does good things, that is not dependent on outside funding? So that's kind of where it comes. It's really not a response to capitalism, it's a response to cooperatives. So what is a social enterprise? Basically, the most widely accepted definition is it's an organization that is driven by social impact that uses commercial strategies, AKA they basically sell stuff. And driven by social impact generally means that is the primary motivation of the business, not profit, although there are lots of variations of that. So social enterprises versus nonprofits. Social enterprises are just a social construct in most of the world, especially in the United States. In the UK, they are a legal status, but that hasn't reached many places in the world. Nonprofits, on the other hand, are an actual tax classification. They mean a lot of things. A social enterprise can be a nonprofit, and most of them are. Nonprofits usually rely on grants and donations, and that's a big difference between social enterprise and nonprofits. Social enterprises are basically just businesses that are oriented on doing good things, so they can use their money however they see fit for the most part. Whereas a nonprofit, as we may know if you've been involved in hackNY, they kind of have to spend all their money each year to get more funding from outside sources, and they have strict guidelines on how they can spend it and all this stuff, and strict guidelines that they need to follow to exist, and like having boards and stuff. And a social enterprise is basically, they just exist like as a business, at least in their like current form in most of the world. So versus capitalism. Basically, a lot of people think, oh, like this is anti-capitalistic or this is a response to capitalism, but it's really not, as I explained earlier. But it has gained great traction in capitalist countries like the United States, especially during the Great Recession, basically because employees can point to a mission that's not just money, and it's a good indicator for customers. And that's basically just my opinion, but you can kind of find that in the literature of theories why this has gained traction in the United States. So how does this manifest in the United States? There's the L3C, which is kind of like a nonprofit, but not everywhere in the country. Only a few states have incorporated this. It's a tax classification. Warby Parker is a great example of this. They're kind of like the golden child of the United States in this category. There's also B Corps, which is just a certification you get by a private entity that says you promise you're like trying really hard to do good things. And it seems pretty legit, but also expensive and kind of hard to do, and just is like for a piece of paper. Patagonia is an example. So I love social enterprises because I got to work with one called Simprints. They promote like goodness in the world basically, and they give people options in opposition to like nonprofits, which have a lot of restrictions, and like for-profit companies that are just like there to get money. Some people believe they're more efficient than nonprofits because they generally get their own money rather than have it given to them by outsiders. And it basically gives me hope for the world that people are pushing for this sort of thing. So in conclusion, the ideal social enterprise, in my opinion, and maybe a lot of people, is totally self-sustaining and motivated by good stuff. It doesn't have to be self-sustaining necessarily, but they should be, as in they're not totally dependent on donations or grants. And this is exciting times for a social enterprise. They've been growing and growing and growing. And the reason we didn't say social entrepreneurship is because that's super associated with greenwashing. And if you Google that, you'll find all these like media marketing folks and like nonsense that's not really related. So it would be good to reclaim the term, but that's not really like what it means too widely right now. And that's it.
So does anyone have any quick questions for Ray?
What's your favorite social enterprise?
I guess that's a hard question. The easiest answer is the Ashoka Foundation, which is kind of the one who like pioneered the idea by giving like microloans to really poor people that have almost no interest and do a lot of things to like help the community.
Cool. Thank you so much, Ray. That's super cool. I have a bunch of things in my like apartment now because I've been shopping at Whole Foods that are all like B Corp stamped, and it makes me feel like I'm buying from better things, even though it's like double the price. But that's okay. Cool. So we will keep things going. So next up on the list is Shruti, who is going to show us a classic Indian dance form, interactive exclamation point, exclamation point.
Cool. Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can people see that?
We cannot, or at least it can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry, because I didn't click share. Duh. Okay, there we go.
Now we can.
Okay. Does anyone know how to like get this to be full screen without showing the speaker notes?
I think play.
If I do play though, it just takes over both of my screens.
Oh.
That's fine. It's okay. We'll just pretend it's full screen. There's not that much content anyway. Okay. So I will be talking about Bharatanatyam, which is a Indian classical dance form. That picture is a picture of me when I was, I think, 7 in a Bharatanatyam costume. I don't know, how do I get to the next slide?
If you just click and then I think down arrow key. Yeah. I don't know. Keynote's different.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm using Keynote. I really hate Keynote. Okay, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm gonna fix this.
Anyone else have a cute child photo at the ready to share in the in-between?
Let me see what I can conjure up.
Could be you, could be your child, could be a child that you admire.
The child that you admire.
Did I share the kittens my mom wants to adopt?
That's a child I admire. Here's my brother. When he was a little kid, he just turned 30, which is why I have it at the ready. And so this was from my mom to our family saying, look how cute. Steve, you had a classic that
I don't know what
really
you're referring to. I'm actually completely unsure as to what you're referring to. By the way, we are confirmed for how to. Oh, those are adorable kittens.
Oh, there's so many.
Okay,
And they're so fluffy.
I think I figured it out.
Good?
I think so. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Okay, you can see my messy desktop. Nope, not that one. Oh my God, this is another presentation. Sorry, this is a mess. Okay, maybe we should skip to the next person and come back to me while I figure this out.
All right, Matthew, you wanna go ahead with humpback whales?
I will, yeah. Sounds good. Cool. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, I went on a recent trip to Hawaii, and I saw a lot of humpback whales, and they really fascinated me. Being able to see them and hear them and kind of learn about them, they're really incredible creatures. In fact, I have a humpback whale right here. You can see that? That's a humpback whale.
Oh.
And why are they called humpback whales? They have this little hump towards the back. Everyone could see that. That's a unique feature. Another unique feature they have is they have these like 2 blowholes. 2 blowholes, which is pretty incredible. And they have this cool print on their bellies. You ever seen it looks like this pattern here? And each humpback whale is totally unique. So it's really just a fingerprint, essentially. As far as how big they are, they're huge. Humpback whales are 66,000 pounds. Female humpback whales are around 50 feet long, while males are about 10 feet shorter. Share my screen. Here we go. Share. Okay. I think it worked. Cool.
Yeah,
Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Awesome. So that's a humpback whale. They're really smart. Their brains weigh 11 pounds, which is 4 times that of humans. One of the largest brains of like any animal. And there's only 40,000 humpbacks in the oceans today. That's 35% of their historical peak. I guess that was before like the whaling industry. And they live pretty long. They live for 50 years and as many as 80 years. Here's my next slide. Where do humpback whales hang out? In the summer, in the warmer months, they hang out in cold places. So they're up by the Arctic Ocean, and they're also down by Antarctica. In the warmer months, they migrate in the winter. When it's cold, too cold there, they migrate to warmer places like Hawaii, you can see. Some places around Australia, and even New York. If you guys see the map there, New York is actually in their primary range. They swim in pods. That's what a whale group is called. The pods include their babies and up to 2 other males who are not the mates of the female in the pod, but they're trying to be a mate. Essentially, they're whale friends. That's probably how you look at it. A cool phrase somebody mentioned was a whale's kitchen is in Alaska and their bedroom is in Hawaii. Essentially what that means is they eat in Alaska and then they travel all the way to Hawaii to mate, essentially. The travel between Alaska and Hawaii takes 39 days. It's 3,200 miles each way at a steady pace of 3 to 4 miles an hour. Overall, humpbacks can travel about 16,000 miles each season, which is incredible. Considering whales have for like thousands of years traveled between Alaska and Hawaii. Just incredible how consistent they are in coming to that same spot. I imagine too what kind of whale GPS they must have to like actually navigate there. Hawaii's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, but somehow they find it every time. And amazingly, when they're traveling away from Alaska, they don't actually eat anything for 6 whole months while they're in Hawaii. So here's my next slide. Pop quiz, true or false? The opening at the back of a humpback whale's throat is the size of a grapefruit. Anyone want to answer that in the chat? Is it true or false?
False.
It's actually true, which is incredible because they're huge. So the answer to that is their throats are actually that small. They have these bristles that really are like broom bristles that kind of filter things out. So when they're eating in Alaska, they eat very tiny fish in like mass amounts. So they'll eat like krill and herring. If you like look closely at the picture, I think you can even see some of those tiny fish. They're really small. So they just kind of like gorge on that there. Another cool thing. So when I was in Hawaii, I was snorkeling. And when I took some pictures, because I had this like underwater case for my iPhone, and I took some video. And when I got back on land and I listened to it, there was a really cool sound. And I'm pretty sure it was whale noises, which can travel, I think, between like 20 and 100 miles through the water. So I'm going to play it, see if this works. So when I first heard this, it sounded to me like cheering, like there was like a football game or something under the ocean. But I'm pretty sure from what I heard, those are like whale noises. And I guess my iPhone case kind of like picked it up underwater, which was really cool. Cool. Chat. Yeah, that's what I think. So it was really cool. Why do they make noises? Nobody's totally sure. It's probably for like mating purposes. but they also just use it to communicate to each other because they're really smart. Another cool thing I saw whales do is they do something called breaching. That's where like they jump out of the water and they like splash down with their tails. And why do they do that? It looks really cool, but I think from what I read, they probably do it as a form of communication, stuff like that. Let me actually unshare my screen. Stop share. Cool. Awesome. So another question, do whales sleep? They actually do sleep. What's really cool about whale sleeping is they only turn off one side of their brain at a time to sleep and then turn off the other side to give the other brain a rest. And they do this in part because they're conscious breathers. Humans, for example, we don't think when we breathe. We just breathe. We're breathing now. We don't even realize it. They actually have to think every time they take a breath. So they need at least some of their brain going so they can remember to breathe. Another cool fact, just to close this out, humpback whales are incredibly compassionate animals. There's a lot of stories, if you look on the internet, about how humpback whales come in and save people from like shark attacks and protect other animals. I read this really cool story. This researcher in Antarctica saw these killer whales that were going after this seal. They were trying to eat it. And the seal was like trying to escape and get away. And it swam to a humpback whale. And the humpback whale turned on its belly, so like on its back with its belly up, put the seal on its belly, and was kind of like elevated so the killer whales couldn't get to the seal. And then it like, you know, put the seal on the side so they couldn't get to it, which was pretty cool. Yeah, I just think they're incredible animals. It seems like researchers are still learning and discovering new things about them. They're really mysterious. We really don't know everything they do and they're capable of. So yeah, I really enjoyed learning about them, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it too.
That was like the most thing that I just like the entire world needed right now.
Everyone loves whales, right? That's what we should all be thinking about.
Does anyone have any questions for Matt?
Yeah, I have a question. I think maybe I misheard, but you said that they basically just go from like Alaska to Hawaii and back.
This particular group does that. Others go from Antarctica to even the Middle East sometimes. Like groups of whales have their like specific path that they take.
And where do the New York whales go?
Somewhere to the North Pole. I actually read this. They go to the Gulf of Maine, which I guess is somewhere like up there where it's cold. Yeah.
This all makes me happy. Cool. Thank you so much, Matt. That was phenomenal.
Yeah. Glad you guys enjoyed it. Thanks.
So we will keep things going. Shruti, are you good now? Cool. Let's turn it back to Shruti. And up next is going to be Marley.
So it turns out I had to export it to an HTML, and then it worked the way I wanted it to. Okay, can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, take two. So Bharatanatyam is an ancient Indian classical dance form. This is, yeah, like I said, this is a picture of me when I was little. I was just starting to learn. So as many of you may or may not know, India is a very diverse place. There are, I think, 22 official languages, and there's like many, many more regional languages. And if you look at classical dance forms, there's many of those as well. There's Kathak, there's Kathakali, there's Odissi, there's Mohiniyattam, there's Manipuri, there's Kuchipudi, and finally Bharatanatyam. This is actually a picture of me when I was 13 doing an Arangetram, and I'll talk about that later. So Bharatanatyam. It's made up of 3 different words, bhava, raga, and tala. Bhava means emotion, raga means music, and tala means beat. And natyam means dance. So basically means dance that encompasses emotion, music, and the beat. And then there's also 3 different components. There's nritya. I'm looking up the notes really quickly. Yeah, nritya means is like the technical part of the dance. Nritya means the expressive part of the dance, and then natya means dance, like I said earlier. And it's mainly consists of religious themes, and it uses the whole body, everything from the feet to the torso to the hands, the fingers, even the head and the eyebrows. Like I mentioned, it uses the hands, and the hand movements are called mudras. And so one of the mudras is called Alapadman. And so this is where the interactive part comes in. I want everyone to try to make that mudra. It's basically if you like took your hand and then made it into something like this. Cool. Anyone want to guess what it is, like what it represents?
Flower?
Yes, it's a flower. Specifically like a lotus flower, but really it can mean any flower. What about this one? So this is katakamukam. You take like your first 2 fingers and put it next to your thumb. Yeah. Anyone want to guess what this one is?
Is that a dog?
No, kind of close though. If you were to make like shadow puppets, what would this kind of look like?
Deer.
Bunny.
A bunny, yeah, it's a bunny. It can also sometimes be used as a bird. There's like a different form of this actually that's like more complicated that looks like this, and that's usually seen as like a bird. And then what about this one? So this one, you take your palm and go like this. What's that? Anyone want to guess?
A bull.
No, we were to go like this. What does that kind of look like?
A leaf?
No, it's an animal.
Oh,
A
a
snake.
snake.
Yes. Yeah, nice. And the last one is brahmaram. So you take your fingers, curl the index in, and then put it down like this. And then the movement is to go like this, where you like shake it around. What does this one look like? Any guesses?
Animal?
It's an animal.
Spider.
No.
Snail?
Fish.
No. If I add a sound, what's it? What did you say, Joseph? Chicken? No.
Oh,
A deer?
No, it's a bee.
a bee.
If you go like this. Yeah. I mean, you don't actually make the sound, but that is what it is. Yeah. So those are, there's, I don't know, like hundreds of mudras, some that are like 1 hand, some that are 2 hands. And this is just like a sampling of some of them. So the other part of this is also a picture of me. It's called Shiro Beda, and I had to look this up because I didn't actually know what it was called, but this is where you would do like head and neck movements, and then also your eyes and your eyebrows. So one of the head movements that you do is like from side to side, so it's like this. Can people do that? Yeah, it's like you keep your neck and your body in the same place, but you're moving just your head. Yeah, you got it. Nice. And then for your eyes, you want to use it to, I guess, enhance the rest of your body's movements. And so you would like move your eyes from side to side, or maybe like up and down. Yeah, and then you would also move your eyebrows for emphasis. So you would like move them up like this, or you might like, I don't know, you might combine all of them and like move your eyebrows up and down while your eyes are moving around. And at the same time as your head. I don't know if I can even do this anymore. It's been a long time since I've danced. But if you're, for example, like moving your arm up and down, you would like do something like this, where you're like shaking your head and your eyebrows and your eyes at the same time. So that concludes the interactive portion, but hopefully you get a little taste of what that's like. So after you've learned dance for a really long time, you do something called an Arangetram, which is a 2-hour solo performance with live music. And you do about like 8 to 10 pieces. And it's like a mix of technical pieces and like expressive pieces. And it means ascend the stage. So it's like a graduation of sorts. It's to show, in the past, it was like a way to debut as a dancer and basically show that you have had enough training to be a professional dancer. So I did an Arangetram when I was 13. It's been over 10 years now. And I have some clips that I can show you of what it actually looks like. Can you see this like YouTube thing that I pulled up? Okay, cool. I don't know if you can hear it, but you can't hear it. Maybe it's just me. Oh, that's too bad. But this is what it looks like. So this is a technical piece called Jatiswaram. So that you can see the Katakamakam mudra that we learned. And then you can see some of the feet movements as well. Cool. So that's like a clip of a technical piece, and then for a something that's more expressive, over here. So this one's like more expressive. So there's like less moving around of all the limbs, but it's more to like tell a story. So this is telling the story of one of the gods. He has like 10 avatars or forms. And so this is describing each of the different forms that he takes. I wish you could hear the music because it's definitely more interesting with the music. I wonder. So this is actually describing his form as the Buddha. And so it's like showing, I guess, like the peaceful nature of Buddha. All right, enough of that. I think that is it. Yeah, any questions?
Can you share the YouTube link?
I'd rather not. It's a private link. I mean, I can share. I'll share it in the chat if people want to watch it. It was from my like college application supplement.
What's the red coloring for? That's on like the hands and feet.
The red coloring is it like enhances, I guess, like what I forget what it's called. But it basically like enhances whatever mudras that you're doing with your so it's usually, I think mine got like spread out because my hands were sweaty, but usually you color the tips of your hands or your fingers and then like in the middle, and it helps I guess kind of orient what you're doing with your hands. Yeah.
Is the dance something that you do like recreationally, or is it something you only do in a formal setting?
It used to be more in like a religious setting, but then it's also done for like entertainment purposes. For me personally, I haven't danced in maybe 10 years now. After I went off to college, it was kind of hard to keep up. But it is something that a lot of people do recreationally too. But it's more, I guess it's like a way to like connect to your culture, and like for some people, it's like devotional as well. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question. How many hours per week did you use to practice when you were learning that?
I think it took me about a year to train just for my iron gauge room. And I would practice, I'd meet with my teacher like twice a week, and then would practice, or I would try to practice at least like an hour every day otherwise. But like towards the actual performance, we would meet almost like every day and like practice for like 4 or 5 hours or something. Yeah. And then like with the musicians as well once they came in. Yeah.
Nice. Does anyone else have any questions? Otherwise, we will thank you, Shruti. That was super cool.
You're welcome.
I always feel weird being the only one that's like unmuted applauding, but you know, we're gonna roll with it. Cool. So the last one, well, technically last one is Marley. Jacob's not showing up, and we're also like hitting the hour, so we'll do Marley, and then afterwards, if people want to stick around, like I'm also gonna make tortillas, or we'll do a how to make tortillas. So we'll have that. But yeah, Marley, you are up with pasta spiel. Pasta spiel.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
So, I just need to figure out how to share my screen. Does anyone know where I go to share my screen?
Bottom center is.
Green button at the bottom.
Also, Caitlin, I just realized you have a Zoom background. That's The Office, and that's hilarious.
Can you see this?
Make sure you click a window and then click share.
Oh.
You told me to turn off the sound.
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a big big green button that says share. Sweet. Okay, can you see my screen?
Now we can.
Okay. So let me pull my slides there. This is my first time doing this. Alrighty. So today I'm going to tell you about pasta, which is one of my favorite things. I'm going to do a deep dive. And for the purpose of this talk, the definition of pasta is a dish originating from Italy, consisting of dough made from durum wheat and water, extruded or stamped into various shapes, and typically cooked in boiling water. By the way, this is what extrusion looks like. It's when you force like a really soft thing through a shape mold, and then it comes out in a shape. So pasta is obviously very Italian, but was it always Italian? Well, we have some evidence of this type of food that was eaten in Rome and Greece called lagana. It had a lot of other names and often referred to a lot of other things. And even though it looks like pasta, it was actually more like batter that was poured onto a hot surface and cooked that way. So it's more like a pancake. So technically, this is not really pasta. The oldest written record that we have of a pasta-like thing that was boiled is from the Jerusalem Talmud. It's called getchyer, and these noodles were popular because you could just buy them dried and then cook them at home, and they were good for traveling because they could keep for a long time. And they probably introduced to Italy during the Arab invasion of Sicily. And there's evidence for that in dishes that they still have in Sicily today, where the pasta has raisins and other spices and stuff that come from the Middle East. Okay, so where did it come from before that though? Well, in 2005, archaeologists found an overturned bowl of noodles perfectly preserved for 4,000 years in Lajia, China. So China wins the who invented pasta debate. You may have heard a myth about Marco Polo bringing noodles back from his trip from China to Italy, or you may have heard another one where he brought pasta to China. They're both false. Now we know China wins. But anyway, so once Italy got into pasta, they really got into it. There's 310 different types of pasta, which go by 1,300 different documented names. The only thing that was missing was sauce. You may know that Romans ate their pasta dry. Instead of sauce, they use ingredients like cheese, pepper, salt, garlic, olive oil, and even nuts as seasoning. Early Italians ate pasta with their hands until the Spanish brought back something very interesting from Peru, the tomato, or as the Italians called it, pomodoro. A first cookbook that features tomato sauce is from 1790. And once Italians got into sauces, the rest is history. There's now so many different sauces. I tried looking up like how many different types of tomato sauce are there, and the result was literally there's just unimaginable combination that you can make of different ingredients to make sauces. In fact, pasta and pasta sauces became so popular that they have spread across the world, not just Italy. And so here are some examples of pasta dishes that use Italian noodles in different countries. So here you see Nepali style macaroni, which has cumin and coriander in it and other spices. This is Filipino sweet spaghetti or meaty sauce, which is derived from bolognese sauce, but it has hot dogs and ketchup in it. This is pasta bascaiola, which is really popular in Australia. It has mushrooms and chicken. I think this doesn't look like chicken though, but macaroni soup, which is popular in Hong Kong diners and other comfort food restaurants. Napolitan or Neapolitan pasta from Yokohama, Japan. And of course, chicken Alfredo from the USA. So that is my 5-minute spiel, which is actually a very shallow dive into an almost endless topic. I've learned so much about pasta in the past few days, and 5 minutes could never do it justice. But the Wikipedia page is a great place to start if you want to know more. Thank you. Oh, I thought Steve was just like very engrossed, and then I realized it was the picture.
Wait, what?
There's a picture of you in another one of these.
Cool. Does anyone have any questions for Marley? Okay.
What's Durham wheat? What's the difference?
I don't know. It's just a type of wheat.
I don't know either.
Have you seen the Quibi thing? That's probably such a nerdy thing to say. I'm probably one of the 6 people that downloaded Quibi, but it's free.
I see the ads.
It's free for like 3 months, and there's a show on it that's called The Shape of Pasta, where this guy, like this chef, goes to Italy and finds like all the forgotten pasta shapes. It's really
God.
cool.
That's amazing. Well, I anticipated that this slide would be shared, so I have also links to like recipes for all the different pastas I mentioned, including, let's see, let's go back. The one that I said was like not really pasta. This one. So there's someone who like shows how they made it and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Looks pretty compelling. I'd try that.
If you ever had a crepe, it looks kind of like that.
Switch.
We found the other Steve.
Hey, sorry. Oh God, this is my nightmare. No, I'm trying to set this up so cool. Thank you, Marley. Cool. So yeah, I mean, we've hit our like more or less hour that we've scheduled. So if people want to stick around, like we'll be hanging out. we have one that is how to make tortillas. So you're welcome to learn how to make tortillas with Rachel and I. Otherwise, thank you everyone who has presented for the incredible presentations. I wanted to keep doing this, so maybe I joked with Emily that we should just do another one of these where everyone has to just do presentations on animals. So maybe that'll be in the future at some point. Anywho, cool. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get into this tortilla talk unless anyone has any objections.
Is it a talk or is it more of a like sip some wine and provide our own commentary or like?
It's like I'm gonna put up a presentation. So Rachel just like hastily put together a presentation about tortillas that I've never seen before.
Oh,
so like
wait a minute.
yeah, so like I'm just gonna like read the thing that she literally just sent me, and then we're gonna see what happens. And she's gonna join in occasionally as well. Everyone say hi. All right, she doesn't want to be on camera yet, but she'll be on camera. All right, let's just do it. Tortillas.pptx. Can people see my screen?
Oh yeah.
All right. We got tortillas here. Yum is apparently this slide. Tortilla is a name given by the Spaniards to the unleavened flatbread they found in Mexico among the Aztec in the 16th century. The word tortilla comes from the Spanish word torta, which means round cake. To this day, it's a huge part of Mexico's cuisine. Tortillas date back to 10,000 years before the old J-man. It was the principal food of the Aztecs, who were the dominant people in Mesoamerica in 1519, and the Spanish. What's up?
Did you go to the next slide?
Oh yes, I did.
All right.
Is it frozen?
No.
Oh wait, hold on. Let me.
I'm still on Yum.
Oh yeah. What? Oh no, that's why it's been on the wrong. Okay, let's just go to this one, and I'm going to. Okay, cool. I'm just going to show you guys in this. Okay, so this is the tortilla slide. Disaster already. Oh no. All right, so tortillas date back to 10,000 years ago. The Spanish conquerors looking for gold that they found and sent back to Spain. When they reached the highlands of Mexico, they found tortillas, which are 2 cups of masa harina, a half teaspoon of kosher salt, 1.5 cups of hot water, hot tap water is fine, and a tortilla press. Otherwise, you can use like a rolling pin. I've also just done it with like 2 bags. You just kind of squish it together. It doesn't work very well, but like you can do it that way. How to? You prepare the tortilla press. You got to put plastic on it. And are we going to do this right now? Do we have? Yeah. All right. We're going to do this in front of you. Let's just do it. Oh, the last one is enjoy. Fun fact: in the U.S., you measure some economic aspects based on gas price, but in Mexico, they base it off of 1 kilogram of tortillas. Is the fun fact that Rachel has from Mexico. All right, so we're gonna. This is why I have my iPad out. Let me mute my computer. I don't even know how to. I literally have no idea how to do this. Stop video.
This is chaos. I love it.
This is nothing but chaos. All right, start video. All right, cool. So we've got. Let me flip around. So we've got our items here. We have masa harina. We have a cup of masa harina.
You can find this. You can find this at Walmart in the international section.
In the international section. We have tepid water. We have a bowl, and we have a tortilla press, which is literally just like you can get it for like $10 off Amazon or whatever not horrible store you can find it on. And it's just this thing. You normally put 2 pieces of plastic on each of these, so like don't make the rookie mistake of not doing that. And then, all right, why don't we get a giant bowl so we can fit all that masa harina? You want to doing this one? All right, so yeah, just chuck it in there. Should we get a spoon or something?
No.
You can do the hands.
Oh yeah.
And there we go. So it makes this like kind of, weird looking dough. And then it's kind of dry. So it's like drier than you'd expect it to be. And that's how you know you're doing it right.
Like, don't add more water. Apparently a rookie mistake as well. And then we also have a pan. While she's massaging that there dough, we have a pan going on over here that's heating up, and we're just gonna slap the tortilla on the pan. Apparently the Mexican thing to do is to cook it only with your hands, which is ridiculous. Oh, okay, wait, we got a ball of dough. We slap it on the tortilla press, and then you just mash it. And you got yourself a tortilla. So then you just kind of slap the tortilla. Do you put oil on it, or you just hot pan, not even with the oil? Slap it on there. And, eventually that's going to be a tortilla. It's not yet, but are you going to do it with your hands?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a lot of slapping. So it's actually super easy. Here, let me put it back on my face. So yeah, it's actually super easy to make tortillas, and they're super good when you make them homemade. Because I always thought there was some sort of sorcery that was required to do this, but it's literally just, here, let me switch back. It's literally just slapping some dough onto a press, squeezing it, and then putting it on a stove, and you got yourself a tortilla. Is this, don't do it with your hands. You're gonna burn yourself. It's not ready yet. Okay. But literally, this is shocking. Every time I see someone making tortillas, they're doing it with their hands, and I just can't believe that their hands aren't just burnt to a crisp. It's pretty impressive. There's actually a really great YouTube channel called De mi rancha a tu cocina, which is from my ranch to your kitchen, where this old Mexican lady just makes these amazing Mexican dishes from her ranch, and it's the most wholesome thing ever. So if you're ever looking for some tips and tricks on how to make Mexican cuisine from an old abuela, would highly recommend. She got the spatula.
That's tortilla.
That's a tortilla. So I like how it rotated there too. Does anyone have any questions on general tortilla making? Or, this isn't really a formal presentation. People can just interject. You don't need to be polite.
Can you show us the tortilla?
What's up?
Show us the tortilla.
No, it's just gonna be my face. My face is the tortilla.
Wait, how is the pot pan rotating itself?
So it's because my pan is bent because I dropped it one time. And so it's literally just because the surface is kind of the surface is really not is slippery, and my pan sucks. But it's kind of cool. It's a neat effect, right?
How often do you make tortillas as opposed to buying them in this household?
Well, recently, all right, normally never. Recently, but not never, but rarely, because it's also really easy and cheap just to buy tortillas, and they're generally better than ours. But no, ours are way better. Yours are way better. But recently I haven't been able to find them in stores. They're gone. I don't know if Miami just doesn't know what tortillas are, and they
Everyone's Hispanic.
yeah. So there must be tortilla. Yeah, but it's salud. So yeah, we don't have any. We haven't been able to find tortillas, so we've been making them recently. Whenever we want to make a tortilla-based dish. Don't put it over here. I'm gonna burn my hands on that. This is a completed tortilla. Yay! Ow.
Wow.
Anyone else? Thoughts?
What are you gonna put in there?
Whales? What?
What are you gonna put in there?
In the tortilla?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you have.
Yeah. Let's make this interactive. What do you want?
What
to
do
put
you
in the
have
tortilla?
in your fridge? We can turn it into a taco.
I made a taco today. Alice made kimchi 2 days ago, and yesterday we cooked up some steak. So we had a kimchi fried rice, steak, and then beans fajitas style taco.
That sounds pretty good.
Good.
It was really good, yeah.
Oh wait, while I'm doing this, do you guys also want to see how you make hummus?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know where we're going with this. So someone shut me up if I need to stop.
The other thing I want is Steve Miami MTV Cribs.
Oh yeah. Yo, what up, MTV? This is my crib.
I'm glad you know how you have to start.
Yeah. So like this is my crib. This is the kitchen. You know, we got a bathroom.
Are those mandarins?
Those are mandarins. Joseph, check out this. If Joseph's still here, check out this this cat litter box. It's pretty nifty. The cat has to like jump in, and it doesn't smell as bad.
Nice.
We have the New York City subway map because both of us really miss New York and want to go back like tomorrow. There is a bedroom over here where you can see the infinite loop. I have this virtual drum set that Rachel hates. And then there's a balcony. And you can like see my neighbor's pool, which is kind of cool.
It's down Miami. Where in Miami are you?
Downtown Miami.
Fun.
I have like a bunch of, I brought my like hippie lights or hipster lights. I got like this thing's really nice for exercising during, you know, the world ending. I got some garden going on over here. Oh, Emily, these are the onions.
They look like they're thriving.
You can't really see them, but I'm regrowing some green onions. But yeah, oh. Wait, just, yeah, I'm just, that's pretty good. All right.
Anyone else want to do a cribs? Jolo?
I've like reached the point where I have to clean for my own sake so that I can see my tables again. So we're not doing cribs.
Like I spy at your place.
Wait, Emily, let's do your
Show
crib.
everyone the cactus out the front window. People love a cactus.
Cool. That's authentic.
Yeah, so you get the full experience, really.
Whoa.
That's a wild cactus.
And you live in a
It's several.
compound.
Yes, I have a wall that does not actually keep burglars out, it turns out. So mostly just decorative.
How warm is it there?
Warm? I don't know. Haven't been outside today, but it's been in the high 70s, low 80s.
It's colder there than it is here.
Yeah, this is the nice time of year here before it gets horrendous.
Here it's like 80s and like 100% humidity, which is horrendous.
That sounds
Not ideal.
Hi, Missy.
Yeah, it just hit 80 in Sunnyvale today. It's like the first hot day.
Did you shave Missy?
I really need to, but she hates the buzzer.
Oh my God.
I don't know how to do it. I think I can buzz all of her okay, except for the face. The face, like, she will kick and scream.
Aww.
So check back in like maybe 2 months, and you'll see the rest of her is like probably perfectly done, and her face is going to be like caked in with food and stuff. Unless I don't know. I feel like my options are find some way to sedate her, or just like keep sneak attacking her when she's sleeping. But that hasn't really been working. So yeah, I don't know what to do.
I have no advice, but that's so cute.
I'm trying to acclimate her to the buzzer with like giving her treats and then just kind of like not actually shaving her fur, but just like holding it near her face.
Yeah.
But she even hates that. Like she's not going to tolerate it.
Oh, poor pup. Does she like the new place?
Oh yeah, she's good. Yeah, the floor here is carpeted, which I think is probably good for her heel bones.
Marley, is that your pet? So cute.